rock and roll. And you guys going to the state fair?
I don't know. I mean, Jude's got that 30-mile radius. He's gonna burn it up,
You
but I
can
don't
get
know.
all he can get.
Yeah.
Did you go to the Lee County Fair?
I did.
Now, what do you do when you go? Oh, well, Cora performed.
I was going to say, I have, 2 kids that are still requiring some supervision. And so my daughter is a Temple teen, and they perform on that little side stage, not the stage where the pageant is, but the other one back behind the concessions.
Okay.
So she was in demand as a performer. So we're there for her, and then we just kind of, traverse the midway, eat a funnel cake.
Right.
Say we'll pick you up at this time.
Me, Amy, and the girls went. We had a big time. They rode all the rides. We ate all the funnel cakes. Had an awesome time. We're going to try to make it to the state fair.
Nice.
That's our goal, though.
Nice.
I need to go.
Have they been to the state fair? Because
Have
on
not.
scale, it'll be, right, a lot more than
We're
the
going
one
to go
here.
in the morning. We're going to ease into
Yeah.
the grand.
She knows what symbol to use in Raleigh, right?
I'm sure she'll probably
When she
go
gets
looking.
older, you can teach her the other one. But not right now.
Last year, the kids were home, so we all went through the fair website ahead of time and looked at all the new things, the foods, all the new, and everybody picked one new food that they were going to try that they really wanted. And you have to find them. So we had to look at the map, and then everybody would find their food, and then we would all try that food. And we decided which ones got a thumbs up, and because pickles were big last year, so there was like
Or
a pickle
frying
drink.
Scavenger hunt
and-
kind of
yeah,
deal.
it was
That's
fun
cool.
though. So because I don't ride that many rides anymore, so I needed an activity. So it was fun though. So we'll
Fried
see.
Snickers.
Or
Fried
fried-
Snickers is good.
Last
Name
year
it.
mine was the fried cookie dough. It was fried cookie dough, and then it was served with ice cream on the side. It was a win. It was definitely a win. Todd tried the pickle something. It was like a pickle drink. It was weird. Pickles were not my thing, but it was fun.
I mean, pickles are my thing. I don't think pickle drinks are my thing,
Yeah.
but
I
yeah.
feel like it went over the top with the pickles.
I
But
like pickle juice, but
yeah.
we'll leave that alone.
Well, welcome to Behind the Lines, our very first video podcast episode. Super exciting. We at the co-op, we're really excited to be launching this channel to our members and the community, and kind of peel back the curtain a little bit on co-op conversations that are kind of going on in the energy world, community items. So really looking forward to expanding this and kind of jumping in. But to my left is Connie Tucker. We're the Central Electric Communications team, and so it's going to be much bigger than that. We want to get the board involved and the team here at the co-op, kind of shine a spotlight on the stories and the people behind the co-op. So really looking forward to it. So tell us a little bit about kind of what our plan is.
Well, I think you summed it up. We want to tell the stories behind the people. Our employees, our members, it could be our community partners. I just think that there are a lot of stories to tell, and that's what people are interested in. And so it might be the educators that win our Bright Ideas grants, or our youth tour delegates that have gone to Washington, D.C. for a week, or we definitely want to have our line workers here to talk about what it really takes to get the power back on. And I think it's really cool to get to go behind the scenes in dispatch and find out what they do and how they coordinate all of our system. And then we have a lot of growth in our area, so we might talk about that. And what does it take to build a substation? It could just be a lot of different topics, but I think that we're going to pick interesting stories to tell.
Absolutely. And, one thing that kind of going into this, we want to keep this relaxed. I mean, the goal was to have real, authentic conversations and kind of keep a relaxed kind of setting. And so, we're super excited to have both of you as the very first Behind the Lines podcast guest.
It's an honor, I guess.
So
You can add that to your resume.
I add
We
that
were
to the
nominated.
resume.
We won.
Absolutely.
So we have Eddie Odom, CEO and general manager of the co-op. Been with the co-op for 26 years now, and started out as a field engineer overseeing the staking design of the system. Became manager of engineering, manager of operations, and then you've been leading the co-op for a CEO and general manager for the last 5 years. And beyond your co-op experience, your community runs so deep. Native of Chatham County, spent a lot of time with Chatham Central High School, the athletic department. So deep co-op and community roots. And Bianca Stumpf, I know you as Miss Stumpf, so it's kind of an interesting
rock
calling you
star
Bianca.
high school history student of mine over there.
But on the other end of the spectrum, you've been with the co-op for 6 months now as a board member, which, plug for that. We'll get into this in our conversation, kind of unique about the co-op is the members represent on the board of directors, which is kind of a really neat aspect. And so Miss Stumpf, I've known you by for so long. You've been in the Lee County Sanford community for 25 years in education. Started out at Lee County High School, and now you're at Central Carolina Community College, academic advising and history, right?
That's right.
And super involved in community, Temple Theater, Lee County Partnership for Children.
Wherever my children lead, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's right. Well, beyond excited to kind of start the conversation with you two, and so we'll just kind of jump right in. First one's for you, Mr.
Let's
Eddie.
do it.
For those who may be just kind of clicking on our podcast today and are wondering, what Central Electric is about, kind of tell us, what does it mean to be a member-owned utility, an electric cooperative?
When I come out of college and was looking for a job, you look at every different angles to go. And the thought process, being an engineer, a degreed engineer, was, let's get into the electricity market. And you look at the big systems, the investor owns, and just happened to run across the co-op, something I had to do some studying on. But to answer the question of member owned, it's exactly what it says. We have approximately 25,000 members here at Central Electric on our lines, about 29,000 accounts. Our members have a say. We're not for profit, and we'll get into a little bit of that maybe later on with investor owns. Any of our profits after we've paid all of our bills and we've covered all of our costs, we've returned that back as capital credits. It may not be a huge bit of money, but it just shows that is part of the membership of what we give back to our membership. Democratic process. You have a vote in it. All of our board members live on our system. I live on the system. It's not a requirement for me. I don't know. But anyway, it's great being part of the community. So we do way more than just provide electricity. Number one, hands down, we got to keep the lights on. But the involvement when you get back into the community part of it, the schools, the youth programs, it's just huge. And as you said, I've got a lot of deep roots. I know a lot of people, and that has just been tremendous to see the smiles that you put on people's faces. The annual meeting is always huge. Connie mentioned a little bit earlier about dispatching. When you get lights back on for our members and you get those compliments and you see that dispatch room and all the outages clearing up, it is such a rush. It's hard to describe because that your members are super happy. So again, all the compliments we receive, we thank everybody for. But yeah, the member owned, much better model than anything I ever anticipated when I come to work here, and loved working with our members in the field up to where I am today.
And to highlight a couple of things, you said you threw around a couple of words like investor-owned utility. The other would be a municipality. We're obviously an electric cooperative, but I wrote down a couple stats. Investor-owned utilities serve 34 to 45 consumers per mile of line. Municipalities serve 48 to 50. We, on average, serve 9 consumer members per mile of line. Mm-hmm. We're very rural. So, that's a big difference between us and an investor-owned utility and a municipality serving large numbers of consumers in smaller areas. So, what makes us that much different from an investor-owned utility, and what makes the co-op model, in our eyes, the strongest model?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I'm biased. I think we have the best, strongest model. Investor-owned utilities have stockholders, and they're for profit. We are not for profit. Of course, we have to make money to be able to run the business. But again, anything above and beyond what we need to run, we can give back to the membership, and it's absolutely great. Co-ops were started many, many, many years ago because of the rural communities. The investor owns, the municipalities stayed local and they stayed tight. The co-ops come into place, and you think 9 members per mile, and what it takes to build a mile of line and what the cost is to that. And we've been able to manage that very well through all the years of the existence of the co-op. This is our 84th year in existence of the co-op. Absolutely huge. And so whenever the co-ops moved into those rural communities, it just hit the heart of America to me. It just hit the good old folk that sat up on the porch and wanted to have conversations like we're having today, and we talk about those times and where we come from. So again, that is huge. Investor-owned municipalities, their job is to keep the lights on as well. We're all a huge team, but we all have different models, business models, and again, ours is just based solely on our membership. What is best for our membership?
People-centered.
Yeah, and exactly right. You center it around your people, and they have a voice and they have opinion in it. Wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, it's absolutely wonderful the way it's structured.
Well, that brings a question up for me. You talk about being member-owned and member-focused and being governed by our members, in effect, through a board of directors. So, Bianca, what made you decide as a member to then pursue a seat on the board of directors? What made you decide to kind of get involved in that?
Well, I'll say 2 things. My grandmother was one of those little girls that I'm sure grew up at the knees of people shelling beans and sitting on front porches, and can remember as a little girl rural electrification coming to her community. So, I mean, there is that sort of heartstring if you come from rural America to want to come back and participate in something like the co-op that really is your family value, right? Not just your values as an adult. I think I'm fortunate. My career as a public teacher almost is parallel to the number of years I've been powered by this co-op. I've taught just a little bit longer. I came on as a teacher in 2000 and a co-op member in 2003. And so I see those parallel because board membership to me is a way to spend my labor, spend my time, serving people, right? I mean, yes, Eddie's right. We're there to, as board members, help support the mission of reliable and affordable electricity. But then there are all those other programs. Mm-hmm. So now I'm part of a board of directors of fellow members like myself who know we're out there trying to support something that has value and has worth and is important to people's lives, just like I think I've tried to do in the classroom, even James all those years ago, right? Trying to meet people where they are and give them what they need to be successful, whether it's an education, which is light in a way, or literally keeping the lights on, or all those programs that the co-op does beyond keeping the power on. So I think just wanting to be a doer and a giver in a new way, and it aligns with kind of being a community servant, I think, when you join a board like this one at Central.
The people and exactly what you said, the kind of the giving back to the community, so vital to the co-op model. And, going back to your introduction, you started in March. So, you kind of have that's why we were so excited to have you as one of the first guests, because you have a unique kind of fresh perspective, having been a member of the co-op for so long and now on the board for 6 months now. Kind of how has your perspective of the co-op kind of changed any? How has that developed now that you are kind of sitting on the board?
I mean, I certainly have come, I think, to appreciate everybody on the board of directors. We're longtime members, many of us, or we're all members, but really longtime members. So, it's one thing to be a member and it's another thing to be engaged at this level. So I definitely feel like I've already been behind the lines to see sort of all the ways the co-op touches our lives that aren't just me, turning a switch in my home. So that's one thing, just realizing all that's done and meeting really fabulous staff. Central is blessed with really phenomenal people. And so that's something that, maybe at my home, in my work life, before board service, I wouldn't have crossed paths with some of the people that work here. I've also had an opportunity to learn a lot. If you're a teacher, you probably need to be a good student. So, I'm a rookie, and so I'm out there getting trained and learning so much that I didn't know, and then meeting people. North Carolina, we're one of 26.
One of 26.
Cooperatives and building some relationships of like-minded and like-valued people, but maybe they live out in Dobson, North Carolina, or maybe they live toward Duck. So I've really appreciated feeling more invested in what's right here, but then also like I'm now seeing my role and the co-op's role in an even larger scale, if that makes sense.
And that's something I was really shocked with
Yeah.
because I've only been here a year and a half, was the co-op exists, but we're part of a network
Yes.
of co-ops across not just North Carolina, but across the country. And it just makes you, the resources you have access to and the people that are doing the jobs similar to yours, but in different communities. But it's really great to meet all those people.
Well, I'm sure people like James and Eddie, who've been here a long time, have heard, but one of the refrains that I appreciate about the fact that there's commonality and there's sort of shared purpose, but all co-ops are different. It's like, if you've seen one co-op, you've seen one co-op. I've been into a couple of sessions where the speakers begin with that, but that's also nice, right? This appreciation that this is an established model. There is 84 years of history just at this co-op. Cooperatives have a long history in this country, but they're still so people and community responsive that they can be a little different, right? They're not cookie cutters.
Right. They serve the community they serve.
That's right.
That's
And
really
it's
cool.
interesting you brought that up. Co-op staff wears a lot of different hats. We're not, all of us do multiple things. We do multiple things well. You have to find that niche at the co-op, what works. But the nationwide network that Connie brought up, it's 900 strong across the country. And just within North Carolina, as you mentioned, 26 co-ops in the network, and then we have a statewide organization that it resides in Raleigh with a equipment warehouse that we have called TEMA. And everybody's like, okay, Eddie, what point are you getting to? Well, our TEMA organization purchases equipment for all 26 co-ops. You buy in bulk. They have it at their warehouse. When we need it, we can pick up a phone call, make a phone call. They deliver it down here and we have it. When storms happen, people's like, man, where did you get so many contractors and so many crews, and where did everybody come from? It's that network of helping your neighboring co-op or whatever you've got to do to get your lights back on, and you provide the resources. And again, we're all different in a lot of aspects, but the principles and the priorities are the same among all the co-ops. First is safety, obviously. The line workers work in a dangerous situation, so safety is priority, but reliable, affordable, that's our three focuses. And any co-op you go to, you're going to hear that. So the network, just not within the community, but even expanding to the state and even on a national level, you meet, as you said, you meet so many people. And I know you've only been here 6 months. Give it another year from now, and it will expand tremendously. And James and I can tell you how many people and relationships we've developed over the years. They're priceless. They're just absolutely priceless to have those resources.
Well, and isn't it nice to be involved in something that is collaborative and not competitive?
Absolutely.
And that's a good feeling. Like, you can feel good about being a member. You can feel good about being a board member. You can be, have a warm fuzzy feeling, right? That you are meeting needs and doing it with such a sense of the greater good, right? In terms of like storm response and things like that. I think that's fabulous.
One of the most amazing things that I've seen since I've been here, Hurricane Matthew. Just outages galore, but one of the most amazing sights is walking out on the back dock and seeing that pole yard
that morning.
slam full of trucks. if you walk through there, you see like Kentucky trucks, or we had Pennsylvania trucks. I mean, people from all up and down the East Coast. And so, that cooperative network is huge. And we call on, our sister co-ops in the area and ask, how are you kind of approaching this, and share ideas. And it's such a strong network. Absolutely.
I had my first experience with that after I went to my first conference. My first national conference was right before Hurricane Helene. And so I got back to the office, and someone I had met from, I think she was in Ohio, picked up the phone as soon as I got home and said, "What can we do? We're sending crews your way," and I just met her, and it was just such a neat feeling to think they have our back all over the country. They're headed this way. So that was really cool. Well, as we think about trying to kind of think about what the board does and what we do, what do you think, Eddie? I'll let you start. What do you think are as we look forward, what are some of our most pressing issues that we're going to face in the coming
It's
days?
changed over the last 4 or 5 years, and I don't want to say it's pre-COVID or post-COVID, but in today's environment, the growth of our system, the cost of equipment. Everybody realizes that, from the grocery store to the gas station to buying clothes or goods. We're not immune to that. Same thing for us on that local scale for the co-op. So, being able to keep up with the progress and the growth is great. North Carolina is one of the fastest growing states in the country. That's a great thing. We need to grow. We're highly residential. We need commercial growth. That commercial growth helps offset a lot of the costs for the residential. So we look to balance that on the bigger scale from a statewide standpoint or even a national standpoint. Power generation. You've got to have the generating plants 24 hours a day, 7 days a week producing electricity. Our statewide association has been very strong in looking at all kinds of resources, renewables, solar, wind, whatever's available. Nuclear is, to me, I still love nuclear. I think it's great. I still think coal resources are very valuable right now. I understand, the thought process of we're wanting to narrow our dependency on that, and that is absolutely fine. But I don't want our state or our country to get so far ahead of the curve and to promise we can grow and keep up with the growth and then not have the resources available. So, we need those generating plants. We need those 24/7 resources out there. Costs have stabilized. Costs have come back down, but they will never be back to as cheap as it used to be. But, let's go back 20 years ago when all of us was what car payments was and groceries back then. That's just the country in itself. But those are my biggest thought processes. We can keep up with the growth. This state is not. We've got reserves. But again, if we keep adding at the rates that we're adding now, we've got to build the resources. And we're talking 4, 5, 6 years to build resources. And so, planning. We have to do a lot more planning now than I ever thought we would have to.
And one thing, the key word, especially when we go to Raleigh, the General Assembly, D.C., talking to congressional leaders, is pace, right? The word is pace. Pace in everything from the retirement of generation facilities to the pace of adding these loads. Pace is so critical.
Speed to market.
Absolutely. Supply, demand, all that comes to a head, and it's really, we're kind of heading that direction. We're speeding that direction. How, Eddie, do you think these challenges are kind of changing us at the co-op and how we kind of have to view things?
Again, it's the planning. It's how we're looking to budget the things. We try to pre-order as much equipment as we can to have it here available. Again, our statewide organization does a fantastic job in making sure that our needs are met there. But legislative talks, speaking to our local leaders, I'm sure they get hundreds of requests on everything. But no different from us, is let's look at the big picture. Let's step back and look at the 20,000 foot view a little bit and say, okay, here's our goals out here, whether they be 10, 15, 20 years. What's the best way to achieve those goals without putting the extra financial burdens on our membership? You know, the old saying is you eat the elephant a bite at the time. You know, you don't try to eat the whole elephant at once. And so those challenges have been there. We've made great headways with our local and our national representation. I used to think, I don't want to get into the politics and all. I see the importance of it now to be able to educate them on that level as well. Because, again, everybody has their own expertise area, and to educate them, they're super appreciative of it. But same thing on the local level. I mean, you think 20 years ago where computers were, where technology was. You know, now we have an AMI system, a metering system that will report an outage automatically. We're able to get back a lot of fault currents on the system to narrow down where the outage is, so we don't have to ride this whole system. We're 2,600 miles of distribution line. If you can send the line workers to a area pretty close and they get there and they can get them lights on in 30, 40 minutes, well, you just put another feather in the hat for the co-op. So again, the reliability portion of it. So all of that is huge. And you think about today, the challenges. Let's get into the let's not get into the AI, but let's just say the AI is out there. Those things, there's a lot of good that I feel can help the co-ops with that, but we have to take those baby steps and figuring out what's the best for it. Again, we've got our focuses: safety, reliability, and affordability. Anything else we can add to the pot is just icing on the cake. So again, staff here, I can't say enough about the staff. Just super to work with. The board has been just absolutely great to work with. Again, the relationships and everybody having the same mindset of knowing what the end goal is, that's the most important thing. When I retire from here, I still plan on being a member of Central Electric. So again, I will have just as much input and interest in the co-op if I get the chance to retire one day as I do now sitting here as an employee. So,
and we've hit on the three critical words: safety, reliability, affordability. Obviously, everyone kind of knows the co-op by the buckets in the air, right? Putting the poles in the ground, stringing the wire, the service to the homes. But the co-op's also so much more than that. We've talked about the people side, the community side, Chatham County, Lee County. The co-op roots are so deep. Community, our service projects, giving back to the community. It's Operation Roundup. We could go on and on. Bright ideas. I'll start with this. Is going to be for both of you. We'll start with you, Eddie. Can you, do you have a story, an example of how you've seen the co-op make a difference locally from a community perspective?
Ooh, yeah, I got a lot.
Right?
I got a lot of stories. I was actually telling this story yesterday. Actually last night at a committee meeting, that I come here in October of 99, January 24th of 2000, we had probably the largest snowstorm I can ever remember. And I was up in the Siler City area working around Oakley Baptist Church. Had tree crews, distribution crews, trying to get the lines back up, getting the power back on in sections that we could. And one of the houses that we was in a member's yard. Of course, it was wet, snow, muddy. We stuck a service bucket in their yard. And I mean, it was bad. We knew we was going to come back and clean the yard up and get the ruts out. But I had a board member call me and say, listen, my wife and I are out riding the line. We'd like to know your location. We want to bring some cookies and some hot chocolate. So they showed up where we was working. I can go to the house today, let the tailgate down on my company truck, and they had hot chocolate already fixed and cookies. And we stopped work for 10, 15 minutes to have that. And you think you're out here working. We worked through the night. When we seen a security light come on, it was like we had won the lottery because we're like, oh yeah, we're making progress. We went probably 2 days before we was able to make any headway. But that was one of my first experiences, and that was a board member and his wife that showed up to serve the crews just hot chocolate and cookies. And you think where that goes, and then we're like, well, man, where are we going to eat at? When we're serving food, we got to feed these guys. The church opened up the fellowship hall, didn't have any power yet, but we was out of the cold, we was out of the wind. And plates were delivered to us from the co-op. And because, again, everybody wears different hats during storms and during the time. So we was actually out of the wind for a little while and out of the elements of the weather. Huge story. And sometimes I go to talking to some of the older members of our cooperative, and they talk about REA, rural electrification. And, my parents still call it REA and Willie Wirehand, and I still have a few things of that. And it's amazing how that continues to stick with our membership of what truly rural electrification meant. So, yeah, again, I could go on with the stories of outages and getting people's lights on and coming up and hugging you. And don't worry about the yard and the rut. We'll get that cleaned up.
Note that you shared just at one of our previous board meetings.
Yeah.
Somebody, personal thank you note addressed to Eddie thanking.
I read that personal thank you note to the board as we get them, and we get a lot, and we're getting more of them. And that's, again, that's not a reflection on me. That's a reflection on the staff here, that they take their job seriously. And again, everybody has that they know what the end goal is, whether it's getting lights on, budgets, whatever else. So you're exactly right. When members send in that and say, man, we're not in competition with Duke or Munis or anybody else. I'm looking to lead this co-op in looking after 25,000 members the best way we can, whatever it is that we can do it. And we've got the staff that is into the same mindset. They're like, let's do it. Let's take care of it, get the lights on. So the stories are great. Like I said, we could go on and on, but for sake of time, Bianca needs to answer her side of it too.
But I love that heartwarming story. Well, I feel like I should talk about the education programs, and you've mentioned, or maybe Connie mentioned, the Bright Ideas grants. I mean, my children and colleagues have benefited from those over the years. Just projects that wouldn't happen, right, if the co-op didn't return a portion of its proceeds to the community. But I've spent the bulk of my career at CCCC, which it's really fortunate. This really is an extension of what I do, because CCCC is Lee, Harnett, and Chatham counties with a little bit of trickle into the neighbors. It closely mirrors, right, the area we serve here. But I've taught a lot of our scholarship winners, just a lot of them. And I've also served on the scholarship committee at the college for years. And so, there'll be more winners, right, at our next annual meeting coming up here soon. And so that's the story that I would share. Probably the most recent scholarship recipient from the co-op was a student athlete that I had. And I'll tell you, community college students, they are salt of the earth. They are not, just coming to school. They are raising families. They have sometimes not just part-time jobs, but full-time jobs. And that's even these kids getting scholarships right out of high school. And so the student that won maybe 2 or 3 years ago that I taught, who was an athlete, that scholarship, right, that investment that the co-op made in him to come to CCCC meant just enough hours trimmed at work that he could rock his academic schedule, right? You cannot do too many things at one time, but if you have a little bit of that tuition pressure relieved because your co-op invested in you, then you can be a successful student. And then not only did it make this student successful, in the classroom, like I mentioned, it was a student athlete. That scholarship was probably the flexibility difference that led him to continue to play basketball, right? So I love the thought that he's got family uplift and college and career happening because he's able to be successful in the classroom. but also just some good old fashioned joy. Why give up on your high school ball plan if you don't have to? Have that for 2 more years. And I mean, I could go on again, like you said. I've got scores of folks that I know that have benefited from the education programs. And it's special when we have our annual scholarship banquet and those students are recognized. And I've known for years as a member thinking like, well, I kind of did that, when you're in the audience, and then now really feeling even more engaged with the cooperative these last 6 months or so than before. Like, that's value added. That's life changing, right? For a student to get to go to CCCC and be successful and get a head start on life.
Great story.
Yeah, it's just really great. And play ball. I love
Yeah.
that, right? It isn't just the books. It's just got to be part of a community and make friendships. And I didn't realize you were so involved in athletics at Chatham Central. Those are relationships he's made on the court. He'll probably have for 20, 30, 40 years. And the co-op made that possible in addition to that diploma that he got at the Civic Center.
That's an amazing story. And, that's the cooperative difference right there. I think you're an example of the cooperative. I was one of your, early students at Lee County High School, and now, our paths have kind of come back together. And
Love it.
I've been working at the co-op for many years now, and you're on the
tour
board.
Here, my first tour as a board member was fantastic because I knew to expect James, but then there were a couple of other nuggets that I wasn't expecting. And look, that is a value. I think your wife was a longtime educator.
Right.
That value of looking at your students then become employees, model employees, community contributors, having their families. That's a real reward. And because we're people-centered, right? That's at the heart of what we do.
To see them succeed,
Yes, awesome.
It's just, again, it's just heartwarming to see, like you said, the relationships and those individuals succeed. And then if we've done it right, they will give back to the community as well. It's it's pass it down. So yeah, great, absolutely great story.
Well, and an aside, I'll add to that about seeing people kind of fulfill their potential when people make investments. One thing that I've been struck by these 6 months on the board is as people come in and make presentation to us, or some line or area of their work needs to be a focus for the board, the long tenure and commitment that people make here that maybe came in as a field engineer and then now have this role. I've been really impressed that once people get, in, right? It's you want to stay here because you feel that reward and that sense of purpose. And so that's a credit to all three of you as employees here. I see and recognize the longevity and the commitment that people make.
And even taking that a step further, all of us in this room, the co-op network, going back to you being at CCCC, you involved at Chatham Central High School, how many countless community groups Connie's involved in. We go with our members, we go to school with our members, we go to the grocery stores, go to church together, involved in community groups. And so the co-op, going back to that community focus, we're there with our members each and every day. And so how many conversations we have about something that's going on at the co-op with someone at church, they come up with a question, we're able to kind of have that interaction. We are right there in the community. The co-op roots are so deep in so many different ways. And now you being on the board and also being at CCCC, that you're going to continue to experience that. And that's the power of the co-op right there.
For sure.
And I think about it really comes back to being local in this world of working remote and touching, the other side of the world in business, which we can do anytime we want. We're local. We work in the community where we live, and we give back to the community where we live. And I think that's become a little bit more important to me and a little more special to me as the world's gotten bigger. It's nice that it can also be small still.
It's not just an 8 to 5 job.
No.
It can be a 24-hour round the clock job.
Yeah.
And even if you're not at work, and as James just said, and to have those relationships outside of here, had someone ask me the other day, well, so-and-so that used to work there with you, did you know them? Absolutely, I knew them. Well, I seen them at the golf course, or I seen them at church, and they said, hey, and that's just, and I went, oh man, I could tell some stories about that individual. And again, you develop so much, but you're right, Bianca. Once you invest and you look at the model and see what we're about, you want to be part of it. You want to stay here and see whatever goals you've set in front of you. You want to accomplish those, and then you want to leave the co-op a better place than it was. And again, the changes I've seen in the 26 years have been great. I had great mentors in front of me, and I hope those that come behind will continue raising the bar for everything we do. But you're right.
It's clear. Yeah.
You get here and you're like, hey, I found a nice comfort zone in life. Mm-hmm. And the friendships that you have are just business relationships. It's just huge.
Yeah.
Well, as we kind of wrap up for today and think about going forward, what this podcast looks like, what are some, what message would you like to share with the members who might be listening as we launch this about stories we might want to tell or things they might want to learn or anything as we...
I'll give you first choice.
I mean, I really want to congratulate you, first of all. I think it's really innovative and cool to launch a podcast. It's like a new way to inform and engage your members. There's my grandma on the porch, but then there's also somebody, right, jogging with, AirPods. So I think that you're meeting members where they are, and I think that's fabulous. So I think I would leave people with being an engaged co-op member. I mean, we're all part of that community because we're on those lines and we're members. But if you listen and watch this podcast, if you follow Central Electric and statewide for that matter, and other organizations tied to electric cooperatives on social media, right, you become more informed. If you read those newsletters that come from Eddie and, read that issue of Carolina Country in your mailbox. If you attend the annual meeting, which I was an annual meeting attender for, years, and especially appreciated when it moved virtual with my work life, the more you engage, I think the more our members would realize that we are about the safe, reliable, affordable power, but all that other, right? They'd be thinking, wow, my niece really should apply to maybe go to basketball camp. Or I know a student that would be eligible for that scholarship. Or I'll tell you who'd be great at that position. There's a new opening on the website to work at this co-op, right? Like I think they would see the real value and the broader value than maybe they realized in the co-op if folks would engage more as members.
Right.
Yeah, I think the opportunity of a podcast is huge. Mm-hmm. Over the years of the annual meeting, we do a lot of videos, and even in the community events, we have the videos at the schools and the benefits and the events that we have. And I think they reach such a diverse audience, as you said. Wherever you're at, we can reach you with it. So, again, kudos to both of you for putting this together. I think it is absolutely wonderful. I'm looking forward to many, many more and having these sit downs. One of the things that I know I've talked a lot about different things, but I do know, one of the things as the counties and the state continues to grow, we'll need to at some point continue to address economic development. And again, we're financially sound. This co-op has a great long-term plan as we move things forward. We don't wait to start on anything on building. We get ahead of it, and hopefully we're ready before you're ready to turn the power on. That's what we like to be. But, moving forward with some economic development. And then, we talked about this a little bit before today, getting other departments and other individuals engaged in these kinds of talks. Not staff, not a board member. Bianca sees a lot of different board presentations from departments. I would love for our members to see our other employees, line worker, an MSR, dispatcher, engineering, whatever, and have those different perspectives of what it does. We all, again, I've said it multiple times, we all have our special talents, but when we put all of our special talents together, it becomes solid here. And again, we've built such a strong staff, but I'd love to get those different areas of our co-op to the mic. So I'm challenging the rest of the employees at Central Electric. We can't get everybody at once, but it would be great to see that. Same thing with some board members. I know Miss Bianca's the the newest rookie, as we say, but we can take some that's been here many, many years, and they can discuss the changes that maybe they've seen over the years through the boards and through the policies and the annual meetings. So looking forward to it. Any ideas? I'm super excited about it. I've been waiting on this for a long time, so tickled to death to be part of it. Thank you for letting me be part of the first one. So
wouldn't have it any other way, right?
Right.
I mean, to bring us full circle, exactly everything what both of you just said. Getting multiple people involved and kind of hearing those stories and seeing those faces and hearing more stories about the co-op and the community and bringing community leaders in. There's a lot of stories out there as well. But to kind of start to wrap it up and bring it all together, you mentioned the annual meeting, Bianca. That's coming up Friday, October 3rd, next Friday. So, a plug for the annual meeting here is, hopefully you've kind of stuck around and watched the whole podcast. And if you have, make sure you tune in Friday, October 3rd, 10 a.m. on Facebook Live. Eddie has some great updates on what's been going on at the co-op, economic development, talking about a lot of the things that's been going on over the last year. And so if you're not able to catch us live at 10 a.m. because you might have a commitment or something along those lines, it'll be available on our Facebook page, YouTube channel. Just be sure to go back and we talked about engaged members and keeping tabs on, because there's a lot going on. Eddie has some great updates on all the things that are going on. So first, thank you to both of you for being here, spending some time with us. You mentioned it's bigger than just me and Connie. There's so many people that have put work and effort into making this happen. We're so excited to see how it continues to grow. But any final thoughts before we sign off?
You did good. Yeah, right.
Absolutely wonderful.
A plus.
plus.
And I'll say when you are now bombarded with people who have watched this,
Right. Yes.
please let us, if they have
stay
great,
humble, right?
stay
We're
humble,
gonna stay humble. We're gonna stay
but
humble.
also let us know all the ideas they have of
For
things
sure,
they want to
for
see.
sure.
Or I'd love to have members on, and like our oldest member who's been a member the longest.
I love
we have all
that. I
kinds
love
of stories.
that. Well, and
So,
I even thought, as more departments come in, again, the teacher and the career development part of my work at the college, I'm thinking, what a way to showcase career opportunities to young people.
Absolutely.
There are all these ways that the podcast can be repurposed, right, by the hearer. Somebody
Absolutely.
thinking like, well, I don't know what I'd want to do. I love numbers. Well, hear about what working in an accounting office would look like at a co-op. So I think
Right.
there are all kinds of avenues this could take, which I think is
so,
really
too.
exciting.
I think it's exciting.
Possibilities are endless. Well, signing off from the very first episode of Behind the Lines.
Very first one.
You have to get a
I know.
tagline
Wonderful.
of some kind,
It's
right?
exciting.
Well, take care, be safe,
right.
and we look forward to the next episode.
Thank
you.
you all.
Thank
Looking
you.
forward
Take
to it.
care.
All right.